How does a man stay silent while being publicly humiliated, knowing the room is standing on money he quietly secured? Why would someone boast about power they never earned in front of the person who made it possible? This is how I let my son-in-law finish his speech before the truth reached the institutions he depended on. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. The dining room smelled like rosemary and expensive wine. 23 people packed into a space meant for 12. Marissa had insisted on hosting here, in our house, the one I bought 30 years ago when I was still figuring out how to bid commercial glass contracts without losing my shirt. The chandelier overhead, original from 1987, needed rewiring twice, cast uneven light across faces I barely recognized anymore. Dorian stood at the head of the table, my table, holding a glass like he owned the room. So then I told the developer, he said, voice carrying over the murmur of conversation. I told him, look, you want quality finishes, you work with Hale Premium Interiors, you want second rate, go somewhere else. Laughter rippled through the guests. Marissa smiled from her seat beside him, that careful smile she'd perfected over the last 2 years, the one that said everything was fine, everything was always fine. I sat at the far end, near the kitchen door, cutting into a piece of chicken that had gone cold 10 minutes ago. My fork scraped against the plate. Nobody heard it. And the thing is, Dorian continued, swirling his wine, when you build your reputation on excellence, people notice. They come to you, they need you. Victor Lorne, the regional credit officer from First Heritage Bank, nodded thoughtfully. He sat 3 chairs down from Dorian, looking interested. Victor had been in banking for 30 years. He knew how business worked, but he was nodding anyway. That's the key, Dorian said. Confidence. You have to project confidence. Show them you're not just another contractor scrambling for work. Someone asked about his expansion plans. Dorian's face lit up. Actually, we're finalizing a major commercial contract right now. 4 buildings, full interior package. It'll triple our revenue this quarter alone. More approving sounds. Someone clinked a glass. Marissa touched his arm, proud. I took another bite of chicken. Of course, Dorian went on. It helps when you've got the infrastructure in place. Supplier relationships, credit lines, all the boring background stuff that makes the exciting projects possible. He gestured vaguely, like infrastructure and credit lines just appeared when you were confident enough. Some people marry into stability, he said, glancing briefly in my direction, and some people create it. The room went quiet for half a second. Then someone laughed, uncertain, polite. The conversation shifted. Dorian started talking about Italian marble suppliers. I set down my fork and reached for my water glass. Marissa finally looked at me. Her eyes said, please don't. Please just let it go. I took a sip of water and said nothing. Elaine Porter, my accountant, sat near the middle of the table. She'd been doing my books for 16 years. She watched me over the rim of her wine glass, expressionless, then looked away. Dorian kept talking. The guests kept listening. My house, my table, my chicken going cold on my plate. An hour later, people started leaving. Handshakes, thank yous, compliments to Marissa about the dinner. Dorian stood by the door, playing host. Someone clapped him on the shoulder and said something about success. He laughed, loud and easy. I helped clear plates in the kitchen. Marissa scraped leftovers into containers, moving efficiently, not looking at me. It was a nice dinner, I said. Thanks. Good turnout. Yeah. She closed the refrigerator and leaned against the counter, arms folded. 27 years old. My daughter. She looked tired. Dad, I'm not upset, I said. He didn't mean anything by it. I know. He gets excited. When he's talking about work, he doesn't think about how it sounds. I rinsed a plate under the faucet, watching water swirl down the drain. Okay, I said. She watched me for another moment, then went back to the dining room. I finished the dishes alone. Through the doorway, I could hear Dorian laughing with the last few guests. Big, confident sounds. The kind of laugh that fills a room and makes people think you've earned it. I dried my hands on a towel and walked out through the side door, into the garage. My work van sat in the driveway, white paint faded, company logo barely visible anymore. Trevon Glass and Installations. 31 years. Small operation, never tried to be anything else. We did windows, doors, storefronts. Good work. Repeat customers. Enough to raise a daughter and keep the lights on. I sat in the driver's seat and pulled the door shut. The interior smelled like coffee and caulk. Receipt stuffed in the cup holder. Invoice pad on the passenger seat. Quiet. I stared through the windshield at the closed garage door and thought about what Dorian had said. Some people marry into stability, some people create it. He'd been married to Marissa for 2 years. Before that, he worked sales at a furniture distributor, mid-level, nothing special. Then he met my daughter at some charity event, and 6 months later they were engaged. A year after the wedding, he quit his job and started Hale Premium Interiors. I remembered the conversation we'd had in this same garage 3 weeks before the launch. "I need capital," he'd said. "Real capital. Enough to cover startup costs, supplier deposits, the first few payrolls." "How much?" I'd asked. "150,000, maybe 200. I'd looked at him. "That's a lot." "I know, but I've got the clients lined up. I just need the infrastructure in place first." "What's the bank saying?" "They'll do it, but they want a guarantor, someone with established credit and collateral." He'd looked at me then, not asking, just looking. I'd thought about it for maybe 10 seconds. "Okay," I'd said. "Really? You're family." He'd shaken my hand, firm grip. Grateful. "I won't let you down, Kai, I promise." I'd signed the personal guarantor agreement 3 days later. Victor Lorne had walked me through the paperwork at the bank. Standard structure. If Dorian defaulted, I was responsible. But Dorian wasn't going to default. He had clients, he had drive, and he was married to my daughter. I sat in the van now, 2 years later, and wondered when exactly the gratitude had turned into contempt. The side door opened. Marissa stood silhouetted in the light from the kitchen. "You okay?" she called. "Yeah," I said, "just thinking." "About?" "Nothing important." She hesitated, then closed the door. I sat there another 20 minutes before going inside. The house was dark. Marissa and Dorian had left. Their voices, their laughter, their presence, all gone. I walked through the empty rooms, turning off lights, checking locks. The dining room still smelled like wine. Chairs pushed back at odd angles, a few napkins left on the table. I straightened the chairs one by one, then stood in the doorway looking at the space. My space, built with my money, maintained with my work, filled tonight with people who thought Dorian was the successful one. I turned off the last light and went upstairs. Monday morning, I drove to a job site on the south side of town. New medical office building, 6 floors, full glass curtain wall on the front facade. We'd been working the project for 3 weeks. My crew, 4 guys, all solid, had the rhythm down: measure, cut, install, seal, no wasted motion. I pulled into the lot at 7:15. The site supervisor waved from near the entrance. I grabbed my clipboard and walked over. "Morning, Kai." "Morning. You're ahead of schedule." "Trying to stay that way." He nodded, scribbling something on his own clipboard. "Let me know if you need anything." I spent the next 6 hours on scaffolding, checking measurements, making sure every panel seated flush. My knees complained. My back reminded me I wasn't 30 anymore. But the work was good. Clean, straightforward. The sun climbed higher. Heat built against the glass. Sweat dripped down my neck. But my hands stayed steady. Each panel locked into place with a satisfying click. Around me, the site hummed with activity. Concrete trucks rumbling, workers calling to each other. The steady percussion of hammers and drills. A symphony of construction. This was real, tangible. You could see what you built. Touch it. Know it would last. Not like Dorian's business. All talk, all image. Built on borrowed confidence and someone else's credit. Lunchtime, I sat in the van and ate a sandwich. My phone buzzed. A text from the family group chat. Dorian had posted a photo. Him standing in front of a half-finished lobby, arms crossed, big smile. Caption: "Another one coming together. Excellence takes effort." Marissa had replied with a heart emoji. Her mother, my ex-wife Linda, had commented, "So proud of you both." I stared at the photo. The lobby behind him looked expensive. Marble floors, designer lighting, the kind of work that required serious capital. My capital. I closed the phone and finished my sandwich. The afternoon stretched long. More panels, more measurements. The repetitive precision helped clear my mind. By the time we wrapped up at 4, my shirt was soaked through and my muscles ached, but the wall was taking shape. Solid. Professional. Exactly as specified. I paid the crew and watched them load tools into their trucks. Good men. Reliable. They showed up on time, did the work, went home. No drama, no pretense. Just honest labor. At 3, I headed back to the office. Small building off Route 9, shared space with an HVAC contractor and a landscaping company. My section, 1 room, 2 desks, file cabinets against the wall. Elaine used the second desk twice a week when she came in to reconcile accounts. Today she was there, glasses perched on her nose, spreadsheets open on her laptop. "Afternoon," I said. "Kai." She didn't look up. "How's the medical building?" "On track." "Good." I sat at my desk and started sorting through mail. Invoices, supplier statements, a reminder about liability insurance renewal, standard paperwork. I opened each envelope methodically, making notes. The office was quiet except for the clicking of Elaine's keyboard. Comfortable silence. We'd worked together long enough that conversation wasn't always necessary, but after a while, she stopped typing. Elaine closed her laptop and looked at me. "We should talk," she said. I glanced up. "About?" "Saturday night." I set down the envelope I was holding. It was fine. "Was it?" "Marissa wanted a nice dinner. She got a nice dinner." Elaine took off her glasses and cleaned them with the edge of her shirt. "Dorian said some things. He says a lot of things. He implied you didn't build anything, that you just existed, and he came along and created success." I picked up another envelope. "He's young. He's excited about his business. His business that's underwritten by your guarantor agreement." I stopped. "How do you know about that?" "I'm your accountant, Kai. I know about everything." She leaned back in her chair, arms folded. Elaine had worked for me since I hired her away from a mid-size firm in 2009. She was thorough, blunt, and completely uninterested in pretense. "When did you sign it?" she asked. 2 years ago, right before he launched." "How much?" 200,000 line of credit. Personal guarantor clause, standard terms." "And he's been drawing on it?" "I assume so. That's what it's for." Elaine stared at me. "You assume?" "I haven't checked." "Why not?" "Because he's my son-in-law. I trust him." Even after Saturday, I didn't answer. Elaine opened her laptop again, typed something, then turned the screen toward me. Bank records. Not mine. Dorian's business account. She'd pulled them somehow, probably through the shared guarantor linkage. "Look at the draw history," she said. I scanned the lines. First draw, 40,000. Second, 60. Third, 55. On and on. The current balance owed, 192,000. "He's almost maxed out," I said. "Correct. Is he making payments?" "Minimum. Barely." The numbers stared back at me. Cold, factual, undeniable. I leaned back. The office felt smaller suddenly. "The credit line is still active," Elaine said. "Your name is still on it. As far as the bank's concerned, you're equally responsible. I know how guarantor agreements work." "Do you?" She closed the laptop. "Because from where I'm sitting, you're carrying his entire business on your shoulders, and he's standing in your dining room telling people he's the reason everything works." I looked at the stack of mail on my desk. Insurance renewals, supplier invoices. 31 years of steady, unglamorous work. Bills I paid on time. Commitments I honored. A reputation built one honest job at a time. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. Elaine shrugged. "That's up to you, but if it were me, I'd at least want to know where I stood, legally, financially. And if I don't like where I stand, then you make a decision." She packed up her laptop and stood. "I'll be back Wednesday. Think about it." She left. The office went quiet. I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. The light outside shifted from afternoon to early evening. Shadows lengthened across the desk. The landscaping company next door finished loading their equipment and drove away. Then I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, found the guarantor agreement in my document archive, read through it line by line. Personal guarantor. Full liability. Withdrawal permitted with 30-day written notice and settlement of outstanding obligations. I read that last part again. Withdrawal permitted. The words sat there on the screen. Simple, direct. A door I hadn't known was open. I closed the app and looked out the window. The landscaping company next door was loading equipment onto a trailer. Normal end-of-day routine. Everything steady, everything predictable. I thought about Dorian's voice at the dinner table. Confident, certain, loud. Then I thought about the empty look in Marissa's eyes when she'd asked me to let it go. I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in years. Graham Yates, business attorney. We'd worked together on a contract dispute back in 2011. He'd been efficient, smart, and completely uninterested in drama. I typed a message. "Need to discuss a guarantor agreement. Available this week?" The reply came back in under a minute. "Thursday, 10th a.m., my office." I put the phone down and sat in the quiet office, listening to the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. Outside, the world moved at its usual pace. Cars passing on Route 9. The distant sound of a lawnmower. Normal life continuing, but something had shifted. I locked up the office and drove home through the fading light. The next 2 days moved slowly. I worked the medical building site, came home, ate dinner alone. The house felt bigger than usual, emptier. Wednesday afternoon, Elaine came back to the office as promised. She set her laptop on the desk and looked at me. "Did you think about it?" "Yes." "And?" "I'm meeting with Graham Yates tomorrow." She nodded slowly. "Good." "You think I'm doing the right thing?" "I think you're doing what you need to do. Whether it's right or wrong isn't my call." I appreciated that. The honesty. The refusal to sugarcoat. We worked through the afternoon in comfortable silence. She reconciled accounts. I processed invoices, the familiar rhythm of business. Around 4, she closed her laptop. "Kai?" "Yeah?" "Whatever you decide, I'm here. You know that, right?" "I know. Thanks, Elaine." She left. I stayed another hour, organizing files, updating project logs, keeping busy. That night, I sat in the garage again. Same van, same silence. I thought about the meeting tomorrow, about what Graham would say, about the choices ahead. My phone buzzed. Another family group chat message. Dorian. "Big news coming soon. Can't say more yet. Stay tuned." Linda. "So exciting." Marissa. "Can't wait." I put the phone face down on the seat beside me. Big news. Built on my money, my credit, my quiet support. And when it came, he'd take all the credit again. Stand in front of people and make it sound like he'd done it alone, like I didn't exist. I sat there until the garage grew dark, then went inside. Thursday morning, I drove across town to Graham Yates's office. Small firm, second floor of a brick building near the courthouse. The waiting room had law books on the shelves and framed diplomas on the walls. Professional, unshowy. The receptionist smiled. "Mr. Trevin?" "Yes." "He's ready for you." Graham's office was neat, desk clear except for a legal pad and a coffee mug. He stood when I entered, shook my hand. "Kai, been a while." "It has. Have a seat." I sat. He settled into his chair and picked up a pen. "You mentioned a guarantor agreement," he said. "Yes. For?" "My son-in-law's business, credit line, $200,000. Graham made a note. "When did you sign it?" 2 years ago. "Are you looking to exit the agreement?" I hesitated. "I'm looking to understand my options." "Fair enough." He pulled a legal pad closer. "Walk me through the structure." I explained it. The credit line, the personal guarantor clause, Dorian's draws, the current balance. Graham listened without interrupting. When I finished, he tapped his pen against the pad. "Standard setup," he said. "You're jointly liable for the full balance. If he defaults, the bank can come after you." "I know." "And you want out?" "I want to know if I can get out." "You can, but there's a process." He flipped to a new page and sketched a quick diagram. "First, you file written notice with the bank. 30 days minimum. During that period, the credit line stays active, but you're signaling intent to withdraw." "And after 30 days? 2 outcomes. Either the primary borrower, your son-in-law, secures a replacement guarantor or converts the line to unsecured credit, which is unlikely unless his financials are strong. Or the bank closes the line and demands repayment of the outstanding balance." I stared at the diagram. "Meaning Dorian would have to pay back $192,000 immediately." "Correct. And if he can't?" "Then the bank pursues collection, against him first, then against you as the exiting guarantor, depending on how the settlement clause is structured." I leaned back in the chair. The leather creaked. "What happens to his business?" I asked. Graham set down his pen. "If he's dependent on that credit line for operations, payroll, supplier deposits, project costs, then losing it would likely be catastrophic. He'd have to find alternative financing fast. Most lenders won't touch a business in that position. So his business would collapse." "Probably." I looked out the window. Traffic moved slowly on the street below. Normal mid-morning flow, people going about their lives, unaware. "Is that what you want?" Graham asked. "I don't know." "Then why are you here?" I turned back to him. "Because I'm tired of being treated like I don't matter." Graham nodded slowly. "Fair." "He stood in my house," I said, "in front of people I know, and he made it sound like I was just there, like I contributed nothing, like he built everything on his own. And you're the one holding up his entire credit structure." "Yes." Graham picked up his pen again. "Look, Kai, I'm not a therapist. I'm a lawyer. So I'll tell you what I tell every client in this situation. Don't make emotional decisions about legal instruments. If you want to withdraw from this agreement, do it because it makes financial sense, not because your feelings are hurt. It's not about feelings, isn't it? I didn't answer. Graham wrote something on the pad, then slid it across the desk. Here's what I recommend. Take a week. Think about what you actually want. If you decide to proceed, I'll draft the withdrawal notice and handle the filing. But once it's filed, there's no taking it back. 30 days later, the consequences happen whether you're ready or not. I looked at the paper. His handwriting was precise, methodical, like everything else about him. What would you do? I asked. He smiled. I'd ask myself if this person deserves the protection I'm giving them, and I'd answer honestly. I folded the paper and put it in my pocket. Thanks, Graham. Anytime. I drove back to the job site. Spent the afternoon installing glass panels, checking seals, making sure everything was level. The work cleared my head. Physical, tangible, no ambiguity. Each panel clicked into place. Each seal held tight. Build it right, and it lasts. Build it on lies, and it falls apart. By the time I got home, it was past 6. The house was dark. Marissa and Dorian had their own place across town, a condo Dorian had picked out, all modern finishes and downtown views. I'd helped with the down payment. Another favor, another piece of quiet support. I made a sandwich and sat at the kitchen table, alone. My phone buzzed. Another group chat message. Dorian again. This time a screenshot of an email from a potential client. Big project. Lots of zeros. Marissa. Amazing. Linda. You're on fire. I put the phone face down and ate my sandwich. The bread was dry, the turkey flavorless. But I chewed methodically, thinking. Later, I went out to the garage and sat in the van again. Same spot, same silence. I pulled out the paper Graham had given me and read it over. Withdrawal notice, 30 days, consequences. I thought about Marissa's face at the dinner, the way she'd avoided looking at me, the way she'd asked me to let it go, like my dignity was negotiable. I thought about Dorian's laugh, loud, easy, unearned. I thought about 31 years of showing up, doing the work, keeping my word, never asking for credit, never needing applause, and I thought about what Graham had asked. Does this person deserve the protection you're giving them? The answer came quietly, clearly. No. I folded the paper and put it back in my pocket. Then I pulled out my phone and texted Graham. Draft the notice. I'll sign it Monday. His reply came back fast. Understood. See you then. I sat in the van for another hour, staring at the dark garage door, feeling the weight of what I'd just started, but also feeling something else. Relief. The weekend passed in a blur. I worked on Saturday, catching up on paperwork and planning the next week's installations. Sunday, I drove out to the hardware store, picked up supplies, came home. Normal routine. But everything felt different. I kept checking my phone, half expecting Dorian to call, to somehow know what was coming. But there was nothing. Just more group chat messages, more photos of his projects, more confidence. Monday morning, I met Graham at his office. He had the documents ready. 3 pages, typed, formal. Notice of guarantor withdrawal. My name at the top. The bank's name below. Effective date 30 days from filing. Read it carefully, Graham said. I did. Every line, every clause. It was straightforward, businesslike, no emotion, just facts. The legal language was precise, cold, final. I signed at the bottom. Graham witnessed it, then made copies. I'll file this with the bank today. They'll notify Dorian within 48 hours. And then? Then the 30-day countdown starts. He'll have that time to figure out his next move. Will they tell him it was me? They'll tell him the guarantor is withdrawing. Your name is on the agreement, so yes, he'll know. I nodded. Graham slid the copies into an envelope and handed it to me. For your records. And Kai? Yeah? Once this is filed, expect pushback. From him, maybe from your daughter. People don't like losing safety nets. I know. Good. I left the office and drove to a supplier warehouse on the north end of town. I'd been buying materials from them for 15 years. Glass, aluminum framing, sealants. They knew me, trusted me. The manager, a guy named Pete, met me near the loading dock. Kai, what brings you by? Need to update my account, I said. Sure. What kind of update? I want to make sure my credit line is separate from anyone else's. No shared access, just mine. Pete looked confused. It already is. Has been since you opened it. Good. I want to confirm that in writing. Okay. Let me print the terms. He disappeared into the office, came back 5 minutes later with a document. I read it. Clean, independent, no ties to Dorian or anyone else. This is correct, I said. Great. Pete still looked puzzled. Everything okay? Everything's fine, just making sure. I did the same thing at 2 other suppliers, confirmed my accounts, made sure there were no hidden linkages, no unexpected vulnerabilities, protecting what I'd built, separating myself from what he'd borrowed. By the time I finished, it was early afternoon. I stopped for coffee at a diner near the highway and sat in a booth by the window. The diner was half empty. A few truckers at the counter, an elderly couple in the corner booth. The waitress refilled my cup without asking. My phone rang. Marissa. I let it ring twice before answering. Hey, I said. Dad, what's going on? Her voice was tight, strained. What do you mean? Dorian just got a letter from the bank about the guarantor agreement. Okay. You're withdrawing? Yes. Silence. I could hear her breathing. Why? She asked finally. Because it's time. That's not an answer. I took a sip of coffee. It's the only answer I have right now. Dad, this is his business. He needs that credit line. Then he should find another guarantor. Who's going to do that? I don't know, Marissa. That's not my problem. Not your problem? Her voice went up. You're going to destroy everything he's built. He built it on my credit, I said quietly. Not his? Another silence. I can't believe you're doing this, she said. I'm sorry you feel that way. He's family. I know. Then act like it. I set the coffee down. I did act like it. For 2 years. I signed that agreement because he asked. I didn't question it. I didn't demand anything in return. I just helped. And last Saturday, he stood in my house and made me feel like I didn't exist. He didn't mean it like that. How did he mean it? She didn't answer. Marissa, I said, I'm not trying to hurt you, or him. I'm just stepping back. That's all. Stepping back? Dad, you're pulling the foundation out from under him. Maybe he should have built on stronger ground. She hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, staring at the screen. Then I put it down and finished my coffee. The waitress came by. You okay, hun? Yeah, just family stuff. Always is. She smiled sympathetically and moved on. I left cash on the table and drove back to the job site. The next 2 weeks were quiet. I worked, came home, didn't hear from Marissa or Dorian. The family group chat went silent. It was like I'd been erased. But the silence was different this time. Not the silence of being ignored. The silence of having made a choice. Elaine came by the office on Wednesday. How's it going? She asked. Fine. Filed the notice? Yes. She nodded. Good. You think I'm doing the right thing? I think you're doing what you need to do. Whether it's right or wrong isn't my call. I appreciated that. The honesty. The refusal to sugarcoat. We worked through the afternoon. She handled the books. I processed invoices. The rhythm was comfortable, familiar. By the 3rd week, I started seeing signs. Small things. Dorian's social media went quieter. No more victory posts, no more project updates. Just silence. Then, on day 26, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Mr. Trevan, this is Victor Lorne, First Heritage Bank. Victor, hi. I wanted to touch base regarding the guarantor withdrawal you filed. Okay. We've reached out to Mr. Hale about securing alternative credit or a replacement guarantor. So far, he hasn't provided either. I see. As it stands, if no solution is reached by the end of the 30-day period, we'll be required to close the credit line and initiate repayment proceedings. Understood. I wanted to make sure you were aware of the timeline. I am. Thank you. He paused. Mr. Trevan, off the record, this is going to be difficult for him. I know. Just wanted to make sure you knew. I appreciate that, Victor. We hung up. I sat at my desk, staring at the calendar. 4 days left. 4 days until the foundation collapsed. That night Dorian called. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Kai. His voice was different, tight, strained. Dorian, we need to talk. About? You know what about. I'm listening. Why are you doing this? I leaned back in my chair, because I'm tired of being invisible. What? You heard me. This isn't about your ego, Kai. This is about my business. My livelihood. Your business that exists because of my signature. I've been making payments. Minimum payments, barely. He was quiet for a moment. I'm building something here. Something real. You can't just... I already did. Marissa is devastated. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you humiliated me in front of our guests. I didn't... He stopped, took a breath. Look, I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I was just talking, being confident. That's what you do in business. Not at someone else's expense. I wasn't trying to... But you did. Silence. What do you want? He asked finally. Nothing. Then why won't you reverse this? Because I don't owe you anything anymore. He hung up. I sat there in the dark, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Clarity. The kind that comes when you finally stop lying to yourself. Day 30 arrived on a Tuesday. I went to work like normal. Medical building project was wrapping up. Final inspection scheduled for Friday. My crew was in good spirits. We'd beaten the deadline by a week. The morning air was crisp, a fall settling in, the kind of weather that made physical work feel good. At 11, my phone buzzed. An email from First Heritage Bank. Subject line, credit line status update. I opened it. The credit line had been formally closed. Outstanding balance, $192,000. Repayment demand issued to primary borrower. Collection proceedings to begin in 14 days if balance not settled. I read it twice. Then I forwarded it to Graham with a single line. It's done. His reply, good. Let me know if you need anything. I put the phone away and went back to work. The glass panels gleamed in the sunlight. Perfect installations, level, sealed, professional. Work I could be proud of. That afternoon, the family group chat exploded. Marissa, Dad, how could you do this? Linda, Kai, what's going on? Dorian, you just destroyed 2 years of work. I didn't respond, just muted the chat and kept working. My crew noticed my mood. Everything okay, boss? One of them asked. Yeah, just family stuff. Ah, say no more. We finished the day's work in comfortable silence. At 5, I drove to the office. Elaine was there, going through quarterly reports. Heard the news, she said. From who? The banking grapevine, small town. I sat down. Yeah. How do you feel? Honestly, relieved. She smiled. Good. Is that bad, to feel relieved? No, it means you made the right choice. I looked at the stack of invoices on my desk. 31 years, steady work, repeat clients, nothing flashy, but solid, real. He's going to lose everything, I said. Maybe. Definitely, Elaine closed her laptop. Then he'll rebuild, or he won't. Either way, it's not your responsibility anymore. Marissa thinks I'm a monster. Marissa is scared. She'll come around, or she won't. But you can't live your life managing other people's feelings. I nodded. She packed up her things and stood. I'll see you next week. Thanks, Elaine. Anytime. I stayed late, organizing files, updating project logs, keeping busy. When I finally left, it was past 8. The drive home was quiet. Dark streets, empty roads, just me and my thoughts. I pulled into the driveway and sat in the van for a while. Engine off, just breathing. Then I went inside. The next few days were strange. Quiet. No calls from Marissa, no angry texts from Dorian, just silence. I focused on work, finished the medical building project, started bidding on a new storefront job across town, stayed busy. On Friday, I got a call from Pete at the supplier warehouse. Kai, quick question. Shoot. Had a guy come in yesterday, Dorian Hale. Tried to open an account using your company as a reference. I frowned. What did you tell him? Told him I'd need to verify with you first. Seemed off. It is. Don't approve it. Figured. Just wanted to check. Thanks, Pete. No problem. I hung up and stared at the phone. Dorian was scrambling, trying to leverage my name, my reputation, to keep his business afloat. It wasn't going to work. That weekend, I drove out to a community business mixer, local chamber of commerce thing, networking, small talk, bad coffee. I usually skipped these, but Graham had mentioned it might be good to show my face, build relationships, maintain visibility, let people see I was still here, still working, still reliable. I walked in around 7. The venue was a hotel conference room, maybe 60 people milling around. I recognized a few faces, contractors, suppliers, real estate agents. And then I saw Dorian. He was near the back, talking to a group of 3 people. He looked tired, thinner. His suit was sharp, but something about his posture seemed diminished. The confident swagger was gone, replaced by something that looked like desperation. He saw me. Our eyes met across the room. For a second, I thought he might come over, confront me, make a scene. But he didn't. He just looked away and kept talking. I grabbed a coffee and found a spot near the window. A couple of people came over, asked about current projects, made small talk, normal stuff. Then Victor Lorne appeared beside me. Kai. Victor. Didn't expect to see you here. Thought I'd stop by. He nodded, glancing toward Dorian. Tough situation. Yeah. For what it's worth, I think you handled it professionally. Thanks. Not everyone would have given 30 days' notice. You could have pulled out immediately if you'd wanted to. Didn't seem right? Victor smiled. Well, it's done now. It is. He moved on. I stayed by the window, sipping bad coffee, watching Dorian work the room. He was still trying, still projecting confidence. But the cracks were showing. People sensed it. The conversations were shorter. The body language more distant. Word traveled fast in small business communities. I left after 20 minutes. On the drive home, I felt something shift. A weight I'd been carrying for 2 years, maybe longer, started to lift. I wasn't angry, wasn't bitter, just done. I pulled into the garage and sat in the van, in the dark, and let myself breathe. The following Tuesday, I got a call from Graham. Kai, got a minute? Sure. Bank's scheduling a credit committee meeting, week from Thursday. They want to discuss the Hale account. Why are they telling me? Because you're still technically listed as a related party. They're required to notify you. Do I need to attend? Not required, but you can if you want. I thought about it. What would happen at the meeting? They'll review the account status, discuss repayment options, decide on next steps. Pretty standard. Will Dorian be there? If he's smart, yes. And if I show up? Then you'll have a front row seat to how this ends. I stared out the window. The office was quiet. Elaine had left an hour ago. Just me and the fluorescent lights. I'll think about it, I said. Let me know. I spent the next week working. The new storefront job started. Simple project, straightforward install. My crew handled it smoothly. The rhythm was good, familiar, honest work producing honest results. No pretense, no borrowed confidence, just skill and effort. Marissa texted me once. Short message. Can we talk? I replied. When you're ready. She didn't respond. Thursday arrived. The meeting was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. First Heritage Bank, conference room on the second floor. I debated all morning. Go or don't go. Be present or stay away. Part of me wanted to avoid it. Let the process play out without witnessing the fallout. But another part, the part that had been dismissed, belittled, made invisible, wanted to be there. Wanted to see the moment when reality caught up with borrowed confidence. At 1:30, I made a decision. I put on a clean shirt, grabbed the folder with all my records, and drove to the bank. The building was familiar. I'd been here dozens of times over the years. Business loans, account reviews, routine meetings. Victor's office was on the first floor. I took the elevator to the second floor. The receptionist directed me to conference room B. I walked in. Victor was already there, sitting at the head of the table. 2 other bank officers flanked him. Across from them, 3 empty chairs. Victor looked up. Kai, glad you could make it. Thought I should be here. Have a seat. I sat at the far end of the table, folder in front of me. The room was corporate neutral. Beige walls, generic landscape paintings. A whiteboard on one wall. The door opened. Dorian walked in. He stopped when he saw me. His face went pale. What are you doing here? He asked. I was invited, I said. Victor gestured to the chairs. Mr. Hale, please sit. Dorian hesitated, then sat across from the bank officers. He didn't look at me. His hands were shaking slightly. He tried to hide it by clasping them together on the table. Victor opened a file. Thank you both for coming. We're here to review the status of the Hale Premium Interiors credit line and discuss resolution options. Dorian shifted in his chair. I'm working on securing alternative financing. Do you have a timeline? Victor asked. Soon. Very soon. Mr. Hale, the repayment demand was issued 2 weeks ago. We haven't received any payment or any concrete plan. I just need a little more time. Victor exchanged glances with the other officers. Unfortunately, the bank's policy is clear. Without a replacement guarantor or immediate repayment, we have to proceed with collection. Dorian's jaw tightened. Collection? You're going to destroy my business over this? We're following standard procedure. This is because of him, isn't it? Dorian pointed at me. He pulled out just to screw me over. Victor's expression didn't change. Mr. Trevon exercised his legal right to withdraw as guarantor. He followed proper protocol. He didn't have to. Actually, he did. It's his right. Dorian turned to me. Say something. I looked at him, really looked at him, saw the desperation, the fear, the realization that everything was falling apart. What do you want me to say? I asked quietly. That you'll reverse this. That you'll fix it. I'm not going to do that. Why? Because you don't respect me. You never did. His face flushed. That's not true. Isn't it? I leaned forward. You stood in my house, in front of my friends, and you made it sound like I was nothing, like everything you built came from you, like I didn't matter. I was just talking. You were talking about my money, my credit, my reputation, and you acted like it was yours. The room went silent. One of the other bank officers coughed quietly. Uncomfortable. Victor cleared his throat. Gentlemen, let's stay focused. I sat back. I'm focused. Victor turned to Dorian. Mr. Hale, do you have any assets you can liquidate to cover the balance? Dorian didn't answer. Mr. Hale? No, he said quietly. Then I'm afraid we have no choice but to proceed with formal collection and potential legal action. Dorian's hands clenched on the table. This is insane. This is business, Victor said. The meeting continued for another 10 minutes. Technical details, payment schedules, collection procedures. Dorian barely spoke, just sat there, staring at the table. When it finally ended, Victor stood. We'll send formal notices within 48 hours. Mr. Hale, I'd recommend consulting with an attorney. Dorian stood slowly. He looked at me one last time. I hope you're happy. I met his gaze. I'm not happy, but I'm not invisible anymore either. He left without another word. Victor walked me to the door. That was difficult, he said. It needed to happen. For what it's worth, you handled yourself well. Thanks. He shook my hand. Take care, Kai. I drove back to the job site. My crew was finishing up for the day. I helped them load tools into the truck, then sat in the van and called Graham. How'd it go? He asked. It's over. Good. He's finished, isn't he? Probably, unless he finds a miracle. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Thanks for your help, Graham. Anytime. I hung up and sat there, watching the sun set behind the buildings. It was done. Really done. The next 2 weeks moved fast. Dorian's business officially collapsed. Suppliers pulled contracts. Clients canceled projects. Without the credit line, he couldn't cover payroll or deposits. The whole structure folded in on itself. I heard about it through the grapevine. Pete at the warehouse mentioned it. Another contractor brought it up at a job site. Small town, word traveled. The details trickled in. Employees laid off. Equipment sold. Office space vacated. 2 years of work, gone in less than a month. I didn't feel victorious. Didn't feel guilty either. Just neutral. Like watching a house built on sand finally wash away. Marissa finally called on a Wednesday evening. Dad? Hey, can I come over? Of course. She arrived an hour later. We sat in the kitchen. I made coffee. She didn't touch hers. She looked older, tired. Lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. Dorian's moving back to his parents' place, she said. I heard. He's broke. Completely. I nodded. I don't know what to do, she said. Her voice cracked. I don't know if I can stay with him. That's your choice. Is it? I feel like everything's falling apart. I reached across the table and took her hand. Marissa, I'm sorry you're going through this. I really am. Then why did you do it? Because he didn't respect me, and I couldn't keep supporting someone who treated me like I didn't exist. She looked down. Tears spilled onto the table. I thought you were stronger than this, she said. Maybe I am. Maybe that's why I walked away. She pulled her hand back. I need to go. Okay. She stood, grabbed her purse, and left without another word. I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the untouched coffee. The next day, I got a message from Linda. Brief, cold. You should be ashamed of yourself. I didn't respond. Work continued. I stayed busy. Finished the storefront project. Picked up another bid for a school renovation. Life moved forward. Then, 3 weeks after the bank meeting, I got a call from Victor. Kai, just wanted to give you a heads up. About? Dorian filed for personal bankruptcy yesterday. Okay. The bank's writing off the remaining balance as a loss. You're clear, no liability. I let that sink in. I'm clear? Yes. The guarantor withdrawal went through before the default. You're not responsible. Thank you, Victor. No problem. Take care. I hung up and sat there, processing. It was truly over. The weight I'd carried for 2 years, the uncertainty, the liability, the quiet resentment, was gone. That weekend, I drove out to the job site where I'd first started my business. Old industrial park, mostly abandoned now. The building where I'd installed my first set of commercial windows was still standing, barely. I parked and walked around. The glass I'd installed 31 years ago was still there, scratched, weathered, but intact. I stood there for a long time, remembering. Young, nervous, determined to do good work, build something real. Then I got back in the van and drove home. Monday morning, Elaine came by the office. Heard about the bankruptcy, she said. Yeah. How do you feel? Relieved, tired, ready to move on. She smiled. Good. Thanks for everything, Elaine. Just doing my job. We went over the quarterly numbers. Solid, steady, nothing spectacular but reliable. The kind of numbers that came from honest work. That afternoon, Graham called. Saw the bankruptcy filing, he said. Yeah. You're officially in the clear. Victor told me. Good. How are you holding up? Fine. Better than I expected. That's good to hear. Listen, if you ever need anything else, I know where to find you. Take care, Kai. I spent the rest of the week working. My crew finished the school renovation bid. We got the contract, good money, good timeline, things were stable. On Friday, I stopped by the diner where I'd had coffee weeks earlier. Same booth, same view. I ordered a sandwich and sat there thinking about everything that had happened. The humiliation, the anger, the decision, the fallout. And now, the quiet. My phone buzzed. A text from Marissa. I'm sorry for what I said. I'm not ready to talk yet. But I wanted you to know I'm sorry. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, Take your time. I'll be here. She didn't respond. But that was okay. I finished my sandwich and drove home. A month passed, then another. Work stayed steady. The school renovation went smoothly. I picked up 2 more contracts. Small jobs, but good ones. The rhythm was comfortable. Wake up, work, come home. No drama, no borrowed problems. Marissa texted occasionally. Short messages. How are you? Hope you're doing okay? Nothing deep, but it was something. A thread still connecting us. I didn't push. Dorian disappeared from social media entirely. I heard through Pete that he'd taken a job selling insurance. Steady paycheck, no glory, just survival. I didn't feel sorry for him. Didn't feel triumphant either. Just indifferent. He'd made his choices. Now he lived with them. One Saturday, I drove out to a hardware store to pick up supplies. As I was loading materials into the van, I saw Victor across the parking lot. He waved. I waved back. He walked over. Kai, how's business? Good, steady. Glad to hear it. We stood there for a moment, awkward. Look, Victor said, I know the whole thing with Dorian was messy, but for what it's worth, I respect how you handled it. Thanks. Not many people have the guts to walk away from family like that. It wasn't about guts, it was about self-respect. He nodded. Well, either way, you did the right thing. I hope so. We shook hands and parted ways. I drove home, feeling something close to peace. That evening, I sat in the garage again. Same van, same spot. But this time, the weight was gone. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old photos. Marissa as a kid, birthday parties, school plays, the day she graduated college. I stopped on one photo, me and her standing in front of the house. She was maybe 12, big smile, my arm around her shoulder. Happy, simple. Before everything got complicated. I stared at it for a long time. Then I put the phone away and went inside. 3 months after the bankruptcy, I got a call from an unknown number. Hello? Mr. Trevan, this is Sylvie Cook. I'm a procurement manager for Westfield Development Group. Okay. We're starting a major commercial project downtown, mixed-use building, retail, office, residential. We need a glass contractor. I'm listening. Your name came up during our vendor search. Multiple recommendations. People say you're reliable. I try to be. We'd like to bring you in for a bid meeting. Are you interested? I thought about it. Big project. Probably competitive. but worth exploring. Yes, I said. I'm interested. Great. How's next Tuesday? Works for me. We set the details and hung up. I sat there for a moment, processing. Big opportunity, the kind that could change things. Tuesday, I drove downtown. Westfield Development had a temporary office in a renovated warehouse. I met with Sylvie and 2 other project managers. They walked me through the scope, massive project. Glass curtain walls, storefronts, interior partitions, 12-month timeline. The building plans were impressive, modern, ambitious. We're looking for a contractor who can deliver quality on schedule, Sylvie said. No drama, no excuses. That's what I do, I said. They asked about my experience. I walked them through my portfolio, 31 years of projects, schools, medical buildings, office complexes, all completed on time. I showed them photos, documentation, references from satisfied clients, professional, thorough, prepared. Sylvie made notes. We'll be making a decision by the end of the week. Understood. I left feeling cautiously optimistic. Friday afternoon, Sylvie called. Mr. Trevin, we'd like to offer you the contract. I sat up. Really? Yes. Your track record speaks for itself. We want someone dependable. That's you. Thank you. I won't let you down. We know. We finalized the details over the next week. Biggest contract I'd ever landed. Triple my usual project size. I called Elaine. We need to talk budget. Good news? Very good news. She came by the office that afternoon. I showed her the contract. Her eyes widened. Kai, this is huge. I know. Can you handle it? I'll need to hire more crew, maybe subcontract some of the work. But yeah, I can handle it, she smiled. Then let's make it happen. Over the next month, I ramped up. Hired 3 new guys, brought in a subcontractor for specialized work, ordered materials in bulk. The business grew, not borrowed growth, real growth, built on reputation and results. The project started in early spring. The site was massive, concrete and steel rising into the sky. My crew worked the lower floors, installing glass panels section by section. It was hard work, long hours, but satisfying. Every panel that clicked into place felt like vindication. One afternoon, I was on site when my phone rang. Marissa. Hey, I said. Dad, can we meet? Of course. When? Tonight? Sure. Where? The diner, the one you like. I'll be there. We met at 6. She was already in a booth when I arrived. She looked different, calmer, older somehow. The lines of stress had softened. Something in her eyes had changed. I sat down. Hi. Hi. We ordered coffee. Sat in silence for a moment. I left him, she said finally. I didn't react, just listened. It wasn't just the business, she continued. It was everything, the way he treated people, the way he treated you. I couldn't keep pretending it was okay. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was my choice. Are you okay? I think so. I'm staying with Mom for now, figuring things out. I nodded. Take your time. She looked at me. I'm sorry, Dad. For everything I said, for choosing him over you. You didn't choose him over me. You chose your husband. That's what you're supposed to do. But I should have seen. You saw what you needed to see when you needed to see it. That's enough. Tears filled her eyes. I missed you. I missed you too. We sat there crying quietly, drinking bad coffee. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. Can we start over? She asked. We never stopped, I said. We talked for 2 hours. About everything, about nothing. It felt like old times. The comfortable rhythm we'd had before everything got complicated. When we finally left, she hugged me in the parking lot. I love you, Dad. I love you too. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in years. The Westfield project consumed the next 6 months. My crew worked 12-hour days. The glass installations were complex, demanding, unforgiving, but we executed flawlessly. Sylvie Cook stopped by the site weekly. Always impressed, always professional. You're ahead of schedule, she said one afternoon. We aim to be. I'm hearing good things from the general contractor. They say you're the best subcontractor on this job. We do our best. She smiled. It shows. By month 4, word was spreading. Other developers started calling, asking about availability, wanting to know if I could handle their projects. I took meetings, listened to proposals, started building a pipeline of work that extended 2 years into the future. The business was transforming, from small regional operation to something bigger, more credible, more visible. I hired an office manager, then a project coordinator. The staff grew from just me and occasional help to a team of 8. Elaine worked overtime keeping the books straight. "This is good growth," she said one evening. "Sustainable, built on actual contracts, not promises. That's the idea." "You're doing it right, Kai." I appreciated that. Coming from her, it meant something. Marissa and I settled into a routine. Dinner every other Wednesday, sometimes just coffee on weekends. We talked about her work, her plans, her slow process of rebuilding. She never mentioned Dorian. I never asked. One Saturday afternoon, she brought up something unexpected. "I'm going back to school," she said. "For what?" "MBA. Part-time program. I want to do what you do." I looked at her. What do I do? Build something real. Something that lasts. Something that's yours. I felt something catch in my throat. That's a good goal. "I learned from the best," she said quietly. We didn't talk about the past. Didn't need to. It was there. Understood. Acknowledged. But we were moving forward. The Westfield project reached 70% completion. The building was taking shape. My glass installations gleamed in the afternoon sun. Professional, perfect, permanent. Sylvie called me into a meeting. "Kai, I need to tell you something." "Okay." "Westfield is expanding. We have 3 more projects lined up. Similar scale, similar timeline." "That's good news." "We want you for all of them." I sat back. "All 3? "Yes. We've been watching how you work, how you manage your crew, how you handle problems. We want that consistency across our portfolio." "That's a significant commitment." "We know. And we're prepared to structure the contracts to make it worth your while. Guaranteed work for the next 3 years, premium rates, first position scheduling." I looked at the proposal she slid across the table. The numbers were substantial, life-changing, built entirely on reputation, on results, on showing up and doing the work right. "I'll need to review this with my accountant," I said. "Of course. Take your time. But Kai?" "Yeah? You've earned this. Don't doubt that." I drove back to the office in a daze, called Elaine immediately. "We need to meet," I said. "When?" "Now." She arrived 30 minutes later. I showed her the proposal. Her eyes widened. "Kai, this is extraordinary. Can we handle it?" "With the right planning, yes. You'll need more crew, better equipment, maybe a larger facility." "But it's doable?" "It's more than doable. It's the opportunity of a lifetime." I signed the contracts the following week. Word spread fast in the business community. Suddenly I was getting calls from the Chamber of Commerce, invitations to networking events, requests for interviews in local business publications. I declined most of them, stayed focused on the work, but one invitation I accepted. Victor called personally. "Kai, First Heritage is hosting a business appreciation event. We recognize local contractors who've demonstrated exceptional growth and integrity. We'd like to feature you." "I don't know, Victor." "Please, you've earned this recognition. Let people see what success built on solid foundations looks like." I thought about that. Success built on solid foundations. "Okay," I said. "I'll be there." The event was scheduled for the first Thursday in December. Black tie optional. 50 business leaders. Press coverage. I bought a new suit. The bank's main conference room was transformed. White tablecloths, catered food, a podium with the First Heritage logo, string quartet in the corner. I arrived at 6:30. The room was already half full. Business owners I recognized. A few I didn't. Everyone dressed professionally, networking, exchanging cards. Victor spotted me immediately and walked over. "Kai, glad you made it." "Thanks for the invitation." "Thank you for accepting. Come on, there are people I want you to meet." He introduced me around. The mayor, the head of the Chamber of Commerce, other contractors and developers. Everyone polite, professional, congratulatory. I shook hands, made small talk, stayed humble. At 7, Victor moved to the podium and called for attention. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. First Heritage Bank has been serving this community for 47 years, and our success depends entirely on the success of local businesses like yours." Polite applause. "Tonight, we're recognizing 5 individuals who exemplify the values we hold most dear: integrity, reliability, and sustained excellence." He called the first name, a woman who owned a commercial cleaning company, 30 years in business. She walked to the front, accepted her plaque. Brief speech, More applause, 3 more names, similar stories, good people, honest work, long track records. Then Victor paused. Our final honoree tonight represents something special, a reminder that respect is earned through consistent action, not loud promises, that real success is built on reputation, not borrowed confidence. I felt eyes turning toward me. Kai Trevin has been serving this community for 31 years. His company, Trevin Glass and Installations, has never missed a deadline, never delivered substandard work, and never failed to honor a commitment. More people were looking now. But what makes Kai's story particularly meaningful is what happened this year. Faced with a difficult choice between family loyalty and self-respect, he made the hard decision. He set boundaries. He walked away from a situation that diminished him. The room was completely quiet now. And in doing so, he demonstrated something powerful. That real strength isn't about what you tolerate, it's about what you refuse to accept. Victor looked directly at me. Kai Trevin, please come forward. I stood, walked to the podium. The room erupted in applause. Victor shook my hand and presented the plaque. Heavy, engraved, real. Congratulations, he said quietly. You earned every bit of this. I looked out at the room. 50 faces, 50 business owners who understood what it took to build something real. And then I saw him, in the back corner, half hidden behind a column. Dorian. He was wearing a cheap suit, looked thinner, older, defeated. Our eyes met across the room. He'd come, somehow heard about the event. Came to watch, came to see what happened when you built on solid ground instead of borrowed credit. Victor gestured to the microphone. Would you like to say a few words? I looked at Dorian, then at the plaque in my hands, then at the room full of people who respected what I'd built. Thank you, I said into the microphone. 31 years ago, I started a small glass installation company with nothing but a used van and a commitment to do good work, no shortcuts, no borrowed credibility. Just show up, do the job, keep your word. I paused. I learned something important this year. You can't build lasting success on someone else's foundation. Eventually that foundation gets pulled away and everything collapses. Dorian shifted in the back, uncomfortable. But when you build on your own strength, your own reputation, your own integrity, nobody can take that away. It's yours, permanently. I looked directly at Dorian. Some people marry into stability, some people borrow it, some people pretend they created it, but only the people who actually earn it get to keep it. The room was silent. Thank you for this recognition. It means more than you know. Applause filled the room. Loud, sustained, genuine. I stepped away from the podium and walked back to my seat. Victor continued with closing remarks. People began moving toward the reception area. Networking resumed. I stayed in my chair, holding the plaque. Dorian worked his way through the crowd toward me. I watched him approach, saw the defeat in his posture, the humiliation in his eyes. He stopped 3 feet away. Kai. Dorian. That was quite a speech. It was the truth. He looked at the plaque in my hands. You must be very proud. I am. I came here to apologize, he said quietly, for everything, for how I treated you, for taking you for granted, for thinking your support was something I deserved instead of something I should have honored. I looked at him, really looked, saw a broken man, someone who'd lost everything and was trying to figure out how to rebuild. Okay, I said. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Dorian? I don't know. That you forgive me? That we can move past this? I stood up. We were eye level now. You stood in my house and made me invisible. You borrowed my credit and treated it like your achievement. You built your entire life on foundations I provided, then acted like I was irrelevant. I know, I was wrong. Yes, you were. He waited, hoping for absolution, for reconciliation, for me to make it easy. I didn't. I hope you rebuild, Dorian. I hope you learn to stand on your own. I hope you become someone who earns what they have instead of borrowing what they need. But you won't help me? No. Because you hate me? Because I respect myself. The words hung between us. Final. Absolute. Dorian's face crumpled. I lost everything because of you. No. You lost everything because of you. I just stopped carrying the weight. People were starting to notice our conversation. Victor was watching from across the room. Dorian's voice dropped to a whisper. I'll never forgive you for this. I picked up my plaque. I don't need you to. I walked away, left him standing there, alone, defeated, exactly where his choices had put him. Victor intercepted me near the exit. "Everything okay?" "Everything's fine." "That was him, wasn't it? Your son-in-law?" "Former son-in-law," Victor nodded. "You handled that well." "I handled it honestly." "Even better." We shook hands. I walked out into the cold December night. My van was parked under a streetlight. I climbed in, set the plaque on the passenger seat, and started the engine. Pulled out of the parking lot, drove through downtown, past the Westfield project, now 70% complete and gleaming with my glass installations, past the medical building, past the bank, past all the places where my work stood visible and permanent, past the restaurant where the humiliation had started, the dining room window still visible from the street. I didn't stop, didn't slow down, just kept driving, got on the highway, opened the windows. Let the cold air rush in. 31 years of showing up, of doing the work, of keeping my word, 2 years of being invisible, of being taken for granted, of supporting someone who treated my help like an entitlement, 6 months of standing alone, of reclaiming my dignity, of rebuilding on my own terms, and now this. Recognition, respect, success that nobody could question because I'd earned every piece of it myself.